Hi everyone, and welcome back to a very long overdue update. It's been about 7 months since I came to Japan now, which is really hard to believe, and I've been meaning to post more content and everything, of course, but as you know, life happens. So I'm here today to give you this new update. Seeing as we're already into June now, today's video topic is going to be my advice for incoming ALTs after being here for a little over half a year now. Also, plus a little life update. So the first thing I wanted to start this video off with is that the last time I posted a video featuring me was my apartment tour. And honestly, that was like right when I came and I only had like the bare minimum and just a couple of other things. So in the beginning of this video, I'm gonna post a couple clips of what the apartment looks like now that I've had time to buy more stuff and kind of put my own stamp on it. So it's changed a little bit, right? Mostly it's just become a little bit more nerdy, but nonetheless. So without further ado, let's get into today's video and let's go see what's new. Okay, now to the main part of this video, my advice. I will say in the beginning here though that I am by no means an ALT expert or anything. I haven't even been here a full year yet, but I just wanted to share with those of you who are coming here soon, because I know that's coming up, just a few things that have made my life a little bit easier and maybe might help you as well. So tip number 1 that we have might seem a little bit of a no-brainer for those of you who have been to Japan before, but if this is your first time in Japan, 100 yen stores. 100 yen stores or 100 yen stores are honestly everything. They are so much better than dollar stores in America, in my opinion, and you can get about almost anything you need there, from like dishes to like random stuff, cleaning stuff, even a little bit of like organizing and a small couple furniture things like that. It's amazing. The most popular 100 yen stores that you will see in Japan are probably Daiso and Seria. These two you can find about anywhere, and honestly they have about the same things. So either of those are probably going to be your best bet. But I know there are other brands of 100 yen stores too as well. And surprisingly, since 90% of the stuff in there is all 100 yen, The quality is actually pretty decent, not gonna lie. Most of the stuff I have bought from the Hyakuen store has lasted this entire 7 months, and it probably is gonna last a lot longer as well. So if you are maybe one of those people who also is like, oh, I don't know how long I'm gonna stay in Japan, so I don't wanna spend a ton of money on stuff that I might just have to get rid of.
No! You'll never get a cent out of me! Never!
The Hyakuen store is your best friend. Tip number 2, kind of sticking with the whole living and saving money theme, is going to be point cards. I'm slowly just building a point card collection. Like, the first one I have is the T-point card, which you can use at a lot of different places like Tsutaya, Happy Drug, Family Mart, and sometimes you can even pick out the cards with like your favorite character on it. Like this one's my favorite character from Tokyo Revengers. And if you pick a physical card like this with a character, you will have to pay for it. I think it was only about 500 yen, but if you just want the card, you can download the T-Point app and sign up for free to earn points that way as well. Kind of same thing here with the Lawson Pointa card. This one I don't think I had to pay for to get the physical card, but there is also an app that you can download so you can use it for free. Or if you're just one of those people who doesn't like to carry around like 700 cards, then you can definitely use the app as well. And then make sure to check whatever grocery store you shop at too, because they will usually have a point card, and that's an easy way to rack up points and save money, especially if you shop there all the time. And then if you have any hobbies, like I have a point card for the bookstore that I go to, or like I like to watch movies, so then I have a point card for the movie theater. And I will say that be careful when you get the physical cards or just some point cards in general, because like this one that I bought, it did cost 500 yen to sign up for and to get the card, but I go see movies often enough that I thought it was worth it, so it just all kind of depends on what you think you will use most often as well. And like I mentioned before, a lot of those cards, if you don't want the physical card or if you don't want to pay for the card, you can download their app and you can use the card that way to get points as well too, without necessarily having to pay for the card. My one thing I will say about downloading apps to use point cards, if your phone's app store is set to the US, you might not be able to download these apps, because a lot of these apps are only available in Japan. But a way around that is you can change your location, at least on iPhones I know, in the app store to say that you're in Japan. You just have to make sure that you don't have any active subscriptions going through your iTunes, and you can change that reason and have access to those apps. If you do have subscriptions like I do, because I have like Apple Music and Apple TV and a couple things like that, you could make a new Apple ID and log out and log into the new one, download the apps. The apps will stay on your phone, and then log back into your original Apple ID. It's just kind of a hassle, but if you really want the apps, there are ways to get them. In conclusion, point cards. They're a great thing. They save you money. There's one for about everything.
Hey, that's pretty good.
So next, my one major tip as far as the actual ALT job goes is mainly going to deal with this lovely little thing we call desk warming. I'll be honest with you guys, when I first got here and I heard about desk warming, I really was like, oh, I'm not gonna have that much free time. I'm not gonna have that much time on my hands where I don't know what I'm doing.
You serious?
I was wrong. I will say it here and right now on camera. I was wrong. There's a lot of desk warming time depending on your school, and you need something productive to do if you don't want to lose your sanity. So of course, the most common thing you're probably gonna hear is study Japanese, which is great. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but if you're like me, I can only study for so long before my brain just starts to melt. And depending on your school, you could be desk warming for several hours. Like one of my schools that I visit 2 times every other week, I only have 2 classes, which means I have anywhere from like 4 to 3 hours of just nothing to do. And I cannot physically study Japanese for that long without losing my mind. So one thing that I've found that's a little fun that you can do, if you make sure, I would check with your teachers and your people at your school that this is okay first, is reading manga. So if you're interested in manga and your Japanese level is decent enough to where you can read a couple pages or so and kind of like get the gist of what's going on, because honestly, trying to read manga when you have a very low Japanese level is just going to be more frustrating than anything. If your Japanese is good enough, I recommend this because it's fun. And you can also make it productive as it pertains to studying Japanese too. Because for me personally, I don't just read the manga. I also make sure that when I'm reading, if I come across a word that I don't know, which is more often than not, I look up the word on my laptop, I search the definition, and then I write it down in a book. So for example, if you guys saw my T card earlier, you know that I like Tokyo Revengers. And recently, I just finished reading all 27 volumes in Japanese recently, which was like a major accomplishment for me. I was super happy. Because honestly, before, that's something I thought I would never be able to do. So for example, I have my little binder here of all of the things that I read and like write down notes for. So like I said earlier, if I find a word I don't know, I will write it down kind of like this, where I'll write the kanji, the hiragana, and the meaning, and then just progress like that. So in the future, if I run across that word, I can be like, oh, I've heard that somewhere before. And then it just makes it easier for me to learn new vocab in a kind of fun way. So since I finished Tokyo Revengers, the newest manga I am reading is this one, Full Metal Alchemist. Yay. It's my favorite of all time anime. I've liked it for honestly probably about 10 years or more now, and I've actually never read the manga, so I thought that it would be a good way to like study and just like relive one of my favorite animes. So yeah, I decided to pick that one. And a second one I'm reading, because I have zero self-control and want to read multiple things at the same time, is Hiromu Arakawa's newest work, which is this. It's called Yomi no Tsugai. And I actually haven't started it yet, but I plan to start it this week when I'm at school. And from what I've read about the synopsis, it sounds really good, and I'm really excited that she is writing again. And I loved Full Metal Alchemist so much that I thought, oh, it would be a good idea to read this one as well. Even the characters kind of look similar, so I'm excited to learn more about this manga. So backtracking a little bit, if you do want to study Japanese, which I do as well, I usually break my free time down into periods. So like, say I only have 2 classes and then I have 3 periods that are free. Maybe I'll study Japanese for a period or 2, and then I'll read manga for a period or 2, kind of whatever I'm feeling that day. So when I do study Japanese, I have kind of the same system where I have a binder where I take notes in and write stuff down in, and the textbooks that I use. So recently, I've been using this series to study for the N3. I want to take the N3 JLPT in December, but I'm not sure if it's gonna happen, if I'll be ready by then, but I'm doing my best. So this series, I like it a lot. This is the new Kanzen Master series, or Shinkansen Master if you search it on Amazon in Japan. And I think it gives you a pretty good mix of everything. There's a lot of activities to do, so it's not just like only kanji or only grammar. There's like little tests that you can do at the end of each section, which I think is really helpful. This one's the kanji one because your girl cannot read kanji. Yeah, there's a lot to do. Kind of like this, where there's a bunch of exercises you can do, just a little bit besides the usual learning and taking notes method, which I find very nice. So desk warming may be a bit of a bother. It may be a big bother, honestly, but if you have productive or like things you enjoy doing that are appropriate during that time, it can be a good chance to get a lot of stuff done. So for the next couple tips, these ones are more focused on life and like social life, because depending on where you are, if you're in a super inaka place, it can be hard to get involved or find activities to do. My placement is not really inaka, but it's also not a big city. It's somewhere in the middle. And so even I've had times where I'm just like, I don't know what to do, or like, I don't know how to meet people kind of thing. So these next few tips are kind of addressing those kind of things. So my first tip in this section is get involved.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
So yeah, I know that getting involved is not as easy as it sounds and everybody says to do it, but sometimes it can be difficult to know where to start and just like what kind of group that you fit into and other things like that. So when it comes to getting involved, I would make sure to check out your region's representatives, because usually each area for JET has a region of representatives that put on events. Like when I first got here, it was in November, so we had like a Thanksgiving event, and we've had a bunch of events afterwards, like a ski trip and mountain climbing and a cherry blossom viewing festival. All have been great opportunities to like meet new people and go do some amazing things while in Japan. And besides that, it's a good way to meet people. So if you're bored or you are just lonely, you can have people to go to dinner with, have people to go to coffee with, have people to study with, or just hang out with. It's a great way to meet people and make new friends as well. So definitely check that out when you arrive. Make sure you are able to find that network of people in your region that put on those kind of events, and make sure to get signed up for emails or however they communicate, so you know when those events are and you can go to the ones that you're interested to. So my next tip is going to be something that addresses a little bit of the mental health side of things. So when it comes to the highs and lows of living in Japan, there's going to be both. I'm sure when you go through training in the beginning, when you first arrive, that they're going to give you that little graph or like video that talks about how like when you come, you're in your honeymoon phase, and then like afterwards you may experience like some really hard times, and then maybe it'll fluctuate to where you're somewhere in the middle where you're okay but not totally in love, like a good middle ground. That is totally real. That totally happens. And even though I had lived in Japan previously, I went through something similar where like in the beginning I was really happy to be here, I was excited to be back, I was excited to start a new job, but then afterwards, the longer it went on and the more the months went on, I started to miss my family. I started to miss things being easy, because if you're not fluent in Japanese, everyday life can just be extremely exhausting and tiring because you can't do basic things by yourself, and it's really difficult.
Sorry, I don't speak Italian.
So I would just say that like everybody experiences that kind of thing, and it's definitely not easy, but I think that if you're able to press through and find a way to get through those hard times, whether it's like talking or FaceTiming with your family, having your family send you things from your home, maybe like your favorite snack, or just like little things that'll remind you of home, getting out, not just staying home all the time, and hanging out with friends, that definitely helps you get through those hard times. But also definitely just taking time to yourself and recharging and doing whatever you need to do to feel better is great as well. The JET program and being an ALT is a really fun job, I think, but it's definitely not easy, even though people say it is. The job itself and the work may be easy, but being in a foreign country where maybe you don't fluently speak the language and just having to struggle daily can be really hard. This isn't meant to scare anyone away by any means. I'm just saying that there are like the highs and lows to anything, like anything in life, and the more we work through them and the better tools we have to work through them will just make this experience that much better for you. And my last and final tip is another probably very simple one, but don't be afraid to make mistakes. Now listen, I'll be real with you guys. I make mistakes so often, it's not even funny. And it's never fun to make a mistake, but when you do make a mistake, it's a great opportunity to learn and to grow. Obviously, pretty self-explanatory, right? But especially when it comes to things like learning a new language, for example, and speaking to native speakers, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Like, how are you gonna learn the proper way to do it if you don't try? This is always what I tell my students in school too, because some of my students are just deathly afraid to speak English because they're afraid they'll get it wrong. And I always tell them, like, don't be afraid. Like, it's okay to make mistakes, because how are you gonna learn the language if you don't make mistakes and you don't try? So, in conclusion, make mistakes. It's okay. Don't purposely make mistakes, but if you make mistakes, you're gonna learn and you're gonna get that much better that much quicker. Also, I will say, when it comes to the cultural aspect, you are also gonna make mistakes. You might say the wrong thing, you might do the wrong thing. Like, for example, I know for me, I was not used to taking my shoes off in certain buildings like schools and putting on indoor shoes. So it took me a while to get used to that. And when your teachers look at you weird, like, oh, you're not supposed to do that, just take it with a grain of salt and like learn and move on in the future. I said, you're in a new culture, you're in an unfamiliar culture, and even if you know a lot about the culture, you're still probably gonna make mistakes. So don't be afraid. It's gonna happen. Just roll with the punches, learn, and move on. And then next time, you'll be perfect. Okay, my dudes, that about wraps it up for this video. I am sorry, I say this every time, that it took so long for me to update, but you know, life's been crazy. There's been the highs, the lows. There's been navigating everything. There's been school. There's been trying to be social. All that stuff. It's hard. And then finding the time to just come home and be like, I want to make a video. I want to spend 2 days editing. It's just kind of been a lot. But recently I've been more motivated to get a little more content out to you guys, especially with the incoming jets. I'm super excited for you to start your journey, and if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment or DM me on Instagram or Twitter. I will answer you, I promise. I'm sorry if I missed ones in the past. I'm gonna do better, I promise. With that, if you guys have any ideas of things that you want to see in the future, things that you would like me to talk about more, anything, honestly, that's a good idea for a video, please let me know. I'm craving the ideas. So thanks again for checking out my video. It means a lot to me that you guys would check out my tiny channel, even though I don't post as much as other creators or whatever it may be. Thanks so much for checking it out. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment if you want to see more. Please give me your ideas. I'd love to make a video on a topic that you guys choose, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. See ya!